Welcome back, listeners, to the History Files podcast. Today, I've got one simple question. Are you feeling burnt out? Are you feeling like you're stressed, tired, guilty, that you are not achieving the things that you set out to do on a daily basis when it comes to delivering your classes and just setting out, for achieving the goals in your career? Do you feel like you don't have a balance? Do you feel like you are close to leaving the profession of teaching? This is a question and this is a feeling that I've experienced, that I can see a lot of my colleagues have experienced at varying different levels. And today what I wanted to do was talk about some advice that I have been able to gather from the teaching community about how to deal with this issue, this ongoing and growing issue that's not exclusive to teaching, but is something that seems to be becoming more and more pronounced. And at this point, we want to try to make sure as a union and as a group of educators and professionals that we don't want to give up on the careers that we love, the jobs that we think are inspiring and actually move the needle. So what I did was I took to social media and put the question out there. What do you do when you're feeling burnt out? And you can tell that there was a whole variety of different strategies, and that one simple question garnered tons and tons and tons of responses, from one-word responses of take your long service leave to, detailed responses of like, here are 6 points of what you can do. So what I've done in order for people to be able to digest this information so it's not just, lost on social media, I wanted to do an episode about it. And what I've done is I've broken it down into 20 different pieces of advice. And not just 20 random different pieces of advice, I've also considered to arrange this list in easiest to implement to the most extensive or, most dramatic thing that you can do. So as you're listening through this list, it should gradually become more and more like, okay, I've done that. You might have done all the easy things first. So we're going to go through all the easy things to implement first, and then we're going to work up to the more involved ones. Okay. Oh, and one last thing I will say is I have not included, and I will not include, anybody's names from the posts or any direct readings of the posts. I respect people's privacy, and therefore their advice has just inspired the following list. So, the number one first piece of advice is daily self-care. You just need to do something for yourself every single day, whether that's a quick walk, binge watching some television. You just really need to prioritize self-care even when you are busy, because you have limited time. 2, you need to limit work communication. This is one that came up in a lot of different posts. And this communication and not having this break between work and home seems to have blurred during COVID. And what we need to do as teachers is come in and re-establish that boundary. So here's some ways that you can do that. You need to remove work emails and the Compass app, or that might be Central or whatever, from your phone, or at least, I know on the iPhone, what you can do is you can remove it off your home screen, so you're not getting the ping notifications, but there is an extra step for you to go to find it. I can see it could be a bit of an inconvenience if you removed your emails and your school management app like Compass off your phone completely, especially because now I have the burden of carrying my laptop around everywhere. Just like move it off your homepage, just so and turn off your notifications. Set strict boundaries for responding to emails. Only respond to your emails between 7:30 a.m. and 4 o'clock, and then clock off. Just have that break. The world and the school will keep functioning without you. They will be fine, and it will make you feel a lot better. Disable email and team notifications from your phone, and leave notes for yourself at work, or use tools like Microsoft to-do lists So then that way you don't have this nagging feeling of, oh, I'm going to forget to do that, so I need to just do it now while I'm at home. It's like, no, like you're at home now. You're more than likely with your family at the moment, or your significant other, or you might just be by yourself, and that's time for you. So leave a little to-do list, which you can do when you get back. Okay, we're on to 3. Dedicated breaks. Don't eat your lunch at your desk. I'm a bad one for this one. I know that when you have like a 4 or 5 period day, that sometimes having a lunch break at your desk is just something that you feel like you have to do. That I need to scoff this, I'm not going to heat up my food, I'm just going to eat it there. And then that's adding to your isolation, that it is important to build those relationships. And this comes up a little bit later. So 4, physical well-being. This was an interesting one that somebody brought up, that maybe schedule a regular shoulder and neck massage. That might be like the person who posted it suggested, $50 for a 30-minute massage every fortnight. Maybe you could schedule it with your pay package that, every fortnight we all get paid at the same time. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to go get a massage, because you'll be feeling a lot of that weight and stress around your shoulders and your neck, or maybe your forehead. So that was a good bit of advice. I reckon that could also be just things like stretching if you're a regular gym goer and massages are not your thing. 5, anticipate enjoyable activities. You got to have something to look forward to. That if the 10-week term, there's nothing in there to break it up, there's nothing to be like a carrot for you, you're going to feel like it's a massive slog. So have something to look forward to. Schedule something for yourself in the school holidays that is not doing more work to prepare for the next 10 or 11-week term. That look for an event, look for somewhere to travel, schedule time to meet up with friends. Okay, and if you're a new and beginning teacher and you're out west and you're listening to this, that might be a chance for you to, when it comes to the school holidays, not to stay there. Okay, try to get out, or at least find something that's going on in the community. You might be in teacher housing, or you might be staying, just by yourself. You got to try to get away from the isolation. 6, and that is leading into this idea of getting away from isolation. You need to build supportive relationships at your school. You don't have to, it's not you against the world. There are other people who are there who are going through exactly the same things, and your break is a break. So have a group of teacher friends to meet with, to have a coffee, tea, whatever, have a chat, have a vent, and foster supportive networks. And then from that, you guys might be able to organize some things outside of school for connecting. Or like I know at the school that I'm at the moment, there is like something simple as someone running a tipping comp for the NRL. That like, I'm not a big NRL person. I don't like really even have a favorite team that I can realistically say I follow this team. But just having something of shared communication to talk about that is not like, oh, this kid was doing this, or, I did this well in my class. It's just something else to start a conversation. It will start building those relationships. And if that doesn't exist in your school, then be the change you want to see in the world. Maybe you could start up a little competition or something like that. 7, engage in hobbies. So ensure that you have activities during the week that are not just you working and then preparing more work. And I think a lot of people do this really well. This might be sport, fitness, yoga, walking, or even just like going down to the pub or something to catch up with some friends. I know there are lots of other hobbies as well, but I won't just keep going through a list. It's the idea is that you think of, what are these activities that I can do so teaching does not become my entire persona? Because what I'm thinking and what I'm coming to the realization is that if teaching is your entire persona, then it can become very threatening, and it can become very draining when criticism or lack of engagement comes your way. That if teaching and creating stuff for teaching is all that you are, and then you go into a year 8 class where nobody gives a damn, or it's very clear that everything's just going through the motion, you could then you've got nothing really to fall back onto. Like, the things that you have made are not bad. Like, they're probably amazing and you're probably doing a really good job, but the audience is the audience. But if you have something else to fall back onto, which is that, part of me is a teacher and I've got all these other things, you might be able to roll with the punches a little bit more. 8, have a weekend of rest. So always have at least one day on the weekend where no work is done at all. I did that yesterday. So I'm recording on the Sunday. I had Saturday. I was with my girls. My wife was playing AFL, and I've got some work that I need to prepare for a day off that I'm having. And I just didn't do any of that on the Saturday. Like, I'm doing some of it today, and yes, it's going to take 30, 40 minutes to do it, but I stuck to that. Saturday is with the family, that I don't need to duck away from them into the office, because, like, especially if you're coming from a family point of view, like, and you've got young kids, like, your young kids, they are addicted to being around you. And I'm getting a bit upset. I'm getting a bit emotional, that it's like they should really come first. Like, not your lesson plan. Like, the people who love you unconditionally, like, you shouldn't be telling them to go away. Like, you should do something with them first. Okay. Challenge the status quo. So don't accept toxic workplace norms. This can be detrimental to your mental health, and just be an advocate for a healthier workplace. This then leads into 10. Part of that, and the one that I saw come up lots of times that teachers were suggesting, is learn to say no. Develop the ability to say no to additional tasks that are going to lead to you becoming overwhelmed. Because this is the thing, there is always something more for you and us to do, but you will never be given the time to do it. And it is okay to reject that guilt and to insist that if I am going to do this additional thing, what are you going to take off my list of things to do? Because I am not God. I cannot create more time out of thin air. There is, like, and this is an interesting way of thinking about it, that when it comes to time, that after I've got to set a bit of context, that I was watching a video of somebody talking about time management, and, like, I'm not one for reading, like, lots of those, like, time management books or anything like that, especially after this video, of which I agree with, was talking about the Western world's understanding of time management is, like, a little bit flawed. That after the Industrial Revolution, we separated the idea of time is something that you can manage, and that if your management is just better, you will have enough time to do absolutely everything. And before the Industrial Revolution, like, that's not the way people talked about time. People talked about time as, like, I am time, we are time, we have limited time. That the new understanding, and this new understanding of time management, neglects the fact, and perhaps puts an unfair and unrealistic amount of pressure on us, and especially students as well, of saying, oh, you could get it done if you just weren't lazy enough. Like, you could get it done if you were just a bit more organized, where, like, that's not the case. Like, you're a finite being. You only have so much, like, time. There's only so much of you that can complete the activities. So yeah, learn how to say no. And if you are going to pick something up, ask what's going to be taken off. And if they don't, then you need to drop something or say no. Like, don't just keep adding to your plate. 11. This one is dipping into bullying. That maybe the burnout is from not having support around you. That you're feeling some low-level bullying from staff members, or some low-level bullying from the executive, or low-level bullying, or it could be high. I don't know why I keep saying low, but I feel like people are generally very professional, that it's just like this, it's that eroding drip, 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 that it's very uncommon for people to be straight up in your face about something. And if they are, you should 100% be doing something about that. Speaking to your union rep, speaking to your mentor, your supervisor, your principal. So 11 is address bullying. Speak to someone if you feel like you're being bullied. It's not part of your job to have to deal with that on your own. And the department, makes that very clear, that it is not on you to have to get this person to stop bullying you, okay, or to get the culture to stop bullying you. There is a step-by-step process. We do training on it every single year. Sometimes we just need to follow what is actually put in place, okay, and then see what happens. 12, work-life balance for new teachers. So recognize it's okay to spend the weekends not doing schoolwork and take mental health, particularly for new teachers who are coming in and feeling like they got to be superheroes, or maybe you're working on like a super grad scholarship, or like you're coming in and you're trying to be the best that you can be. Just start out having a good balance, that you don't have to do absolutely all of it. Okay, let's go on to 13, and I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit more because I can see that this recording is getting pretty long, a bit long in the tooth. So 13, and we might be getting some double ups happening here. Setting boundaries and carve out personal time, establish untouchable personal time, and then have a designated school-free zone. This is probably a good one I know we've been talking about have a day off where you detach from work, but also have maybe a point along your commute where you start letting things go. When I was working out at Corindi, and I'm based in Tamworth, I had a 45-minute drive every day, and along that drive, there is a bridge that you need to cross. And so figuratively and like metaphorically and also literally, that on the drive, if there was something that was stressing me out on the way back home, I needed to get over it, or I set myself a limit of getting over it by the time I crossed the bridge. Now, was that successful every single time? No, but it was successful and at least kept me conscious of, was I just spinning the wheels? Spinning the wheels on something, and was I going to then take that load home? And on the little things, you were able to then let it go. And on the big things, there's nothing wrong with, asking your family for support. 14, evaluate time and energy drains. Somebody was saying identify what specifically is consuming a lot of your time and energy, and see if you can seek out advice from longer serving staff at the school about how they then try to manage that. So rather than trying to come up with ideas of maybe how to get your reports done faster, maybe about how to get peer feedback, like go to somebody else who has a lot of experience. And that's one thing that the teaching profession definitely has in spades, that it's not a fly in, fly out sort of job, that there are people who have 20, 30, 40 years experience in the business. And if we're talking about getting through and not getting burnt out and leaving after 3 to 7 years, then they've got to have something. Like they're going the distance. So, and I'm sure they would love to help you. That they would probably find it flattering, and maybe also important for them to also reflect about, how, what have I been able to achieve? So yeah, reach out and ask for help. It's like they're in the profession of teaching. I'm sure they would love to teach you something too. 15, managing your extra tasks. Start allocating time to complete your extra tasks. We've talked about that. 16, have a passion project. This was an interesting one that also got a lot of likes, which is try to have something at school where you can bring your passions into school that you might do during a lunchtime or during a break. So essentially running a club. So a talent show, D&D club, Magic at the Gathering club, an environmental council, chess, something like that. This might rekindle, and you might be thinking, oh, you're just adding more stuff. That goes against everything. But that might not be the reason you're being burnt out. You might be feeling burnt out or over it because you're like losing the passion, or you're not connecting with students. It's just like, well, why am I here? I'm just a dancing monkey. It's like, okay, how about you bring your passion into the school, start a club, build that reputation, build that rapport, and that might be something that then motivates you to get there in the morning and just like, oh, I'm going to do this for my club. And yeah, I could definitely see how that would be beneficial. And I've seen that before. I've definitely seen that before. 17, as we're getting into these last ones, remember, these are the most dramatic or might be the most full-on responses if you are really feeling burnt out. Okay? 17, you adopt a 4-day work week, okay, or a work from home implementation. The last one, the work from home implementation, that I know that is just not realistic for everybody, but the 4-day work week with the teacher shortage is also, maybe not something that everyone will be able to do. But if you're in that really stressful position and you don't want to leave, but you can't manage it and you just need that extra day for yourself, go to a 4-day contract, try to negotiate it so you can get on top of your workload. Okay. Or you might have young kids, or you might be a single parent, and that just might be the best thing for you to do, to be honest. Like putting your family first, or putting the health of a family member first, or your own health first before the kids and before the school. 18, utilize long service leave. Take advantage of your long service leave when it is available and use it to help rest and recharge. 19, seek your union support. Go to your union rep and get them get involved in trying to push for more systematic changes. And 20 is that if there is not an active union rep, maybe it needs to be you. Get the bull by the horns to rejecting the overwork culture, lead the charge, and I think you'll be surprised how many people get behind you. Rightio. Thank you very much for joining me on this special episode around teacher burnout. Hopefully, one of these 20 tips will help you to keep going the distance, just like this 25-minute episode, totally unscripted. I'm Blake Hamilton. Thank you for joining me.